Today I'm going to make a product that I used to use myself back in the day. I used to use a lot back in the day. I don't like to promote other brands on my channel, but I'm gonna make an exception. Hello, welcome to Zyra Organics channel. My name is Tuna Ane. I'm the brand owner and founder of Zyra Organics, where I sell cosmetics, candles, also show you DIY cosmetics on this channel. This is Nivea's post-shave sensitive balm. I used to use quite a lot, and I actually got inspired by watching Lovely Nikki tutorials video the other day where she was talking about that she was using this product herself back in the day as a makeup primer. So I was like, yeah, I used to use that a lot too. So I decided to make it on my own, interpret it the way I like to do it, and actually improve a couple of things on the formulation, or actually in the ingredient side, especially because I don't know the formulation. By looking at the ingredients, I think I figured out a couple of additional things that will help the product itself. I also find an emulsifier that has tapioca starch. Looking at the ingredients here, Nivea also use tapioca starch on this product, and I actually managed to get a very similar texture. And I will add a bit of actually scent myself, try to at least replicate scent it as well. So I'm really excited to actually show you this formulation today. Anyway, without further ado, let's start this balm formulation. As usual, you can find the full formulation on the screen. It is going to be 100 grams, and also you can find the details of the full formula on the description section. So if you missed it here, you can get the details from there. So the formula contains allantoin. So the reason I add the allantoin is going to help with those shave cuts or any sort of like healing the skin, because as you know, after shaving the skin becomes quite sensitive, and allantoin is really good at healing the skin. So that's why I'm adding allantoin. I'm also adding some vitamin B5, which is panthenol. It will help with the again with the moisturization, with the healing of the skin. And lastly, I'm also adding pentylene glycol. So the reason I'm adding pentylene glycol, there is also going to be glycerine, but there's also the pentylene glycol, is just because when you add too much glycerine, it becomes quite tacky. So, and the formulation also becomes quite heavy if you add too much glycerine. So everybody loves glycerine, I love glycerine, but you need to balance it. So to balance the tackiness and also increase the moisture, I'm putting equal amounts of glycerin and pentylene glycol to reduce the tackiness that comes from glycerin, but it still is going to provide a lot of moisture and also help with dissolving of ingredients. So let's start with dissolving the allantoin. As you can, allantoin can be dissolved in hot water. So I'm adding 0.5 grams of allantoin. So let's start with that. Okay, so we add the allantoin, 0.50 grams. Then we're going to add our water. So let's start with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this. As you can see, it's become quite cloudy with allantoin. So I'm going to dissolve this in hot water. And actually, I'm going to bring a pan here so you can see it. So I'll just come back to you in a second. Okay, so I have the pan here on the corner. It's just because there's still steam coming out, and I don't want to get this screen to get like steamy. So I'm putting it here, and I'm just gonna mix this. I'll try to bring it a little bit here so without getting too steamy, so you can see it here. And then I'll resume once allantoin is completely dissolved. As you can see, allantoin is completely dissolved, so I'm going to remove the pan now. Yep, as you can see, it's completely dissolved, there's nothing left. Also see it from here. It's completely dissolved, there's nothing left. So this is the best way to dissolve allantoin, basically. So now that this is all completely dissolved, we can move on adding our other ingredients. We're going to add 5 grams of glycerin. So let's open that. So glycerin added. And next I'm also adding the pentylene glycol, which is going to help with the tackiness but still going to provide a lot of moisture. If you want to learn more about pentylene glycol, you can also look at my video in the hyaluronic acid video where I talk in detail about pentylene glycol. So let's add another 5 grams of pentylene glycol. And another good thing about pentylene glycol It actually helps with the makeup to stick if you're gonna use this as a primer. As you can see on the screen, pentylene glycol also have an improved pigment dispersion. So it's actually, if you put this balm as a primer, it was actually going to help with the makeup because of this pigment dispersion property. So that's why I also input pentylene glycol. So I added the 5 grams of pentylene glycol. So let's just mix both of them. So let's move on with the water stage. I'm also adding some mixture of floral waters. So I'm adding tea tree, lavender and chamomile and also some orange flowers. This is just the kind of, I'm trying to match the Nivea's scent, but I don't exactly know what they're using. So, but these flower waters will help with the, also, you know, tea tree helps with the antifungal, also helps with the acne issues, any kind of bumps and things like that. So, and you got also orange flower, chamomile, lavender, all help with the skin soothing and rejuvenation of the skin. So that's why I like using them. So I'm gonna mix all these now. So I'm gonna start with 3 grams of orange flower. So let's start with that. Next, I'm adding the chamomile. So another 3 grams of chamomile. So that's gonna be 6 now. Tea tree, which is 5 grams. Finally, we're gonna add 5 grams of, this is the lavender water, so this is organic lavender water, flower water. So it's just gonna add 5 grams of lavender water. One more thing for actually on the water stage, which is aloe vera concentrate. This is 10-time concentrate. So again, aloe vera helps with the soothing and calming of the skin. So I'm just gonna use another 3 grams of aloe vera here. So this is not heat sensitive, so we're gonna heat this up stage anyway. So I'm gonna put like 3 grams. So everything is in place. We put, it's still everything is crystal clear, as you can see. There's no sedimentation. You can also see it from here as well. There's no sedimentation. Allantoin is dissolved very nicely. So now we can move on to oil stage. So we're gonna put this aside for now. For the oil stage, which is where we're gonna add our ingredients. So first we're going to start adding coconut oil. So this type of coconut oil I'm using is actually called MCT oil. Forget about this, it's just a bit of pigment goes contrary, but there's nothing wrong with it. So this is actually called MCT oil. It's a capillary triglyceride. It is sort of like a esterified version of coconut oil. So you can also use fractionated coconut oil. So this will also help with the lightness of the product. So I'm only using 3 grams anyway, so it's not much. Okay, next I'm adding 2 grams of grapeseed oil. So this is grapeseed oil. The reason I'm adding grapeseed oil is actually help with the skin absorption, and it's a very light oil. So I'm just adding 2 grams. Okay, so we added 3 grams of coconut MCT oil, and we have 2 grams of grapeseed oil. So now we have 5 grams of the oil phase. As you can see, I'm using very low amount of oil, so we don't need too much oil. We don't want to make this obviously balm very greasy. Next, I'm using an emulsifier called Instathix. So this is the emulsifier I was mentioning earlier. So the goodness about this emulsifier is it's a polymeric emulsifier. So if you want to know a little bit more about polymeric emulsifier, you can watch my Formulation 101 videos. So basically, this polymeric emulsifier has a stabilizer in it, and it's an oil to water emulsifier, and it actually makes a really good texture. And also this one has a tapioca starch, as previously I mentioned. So what I'm going to do is I need to disperse this in the oil phase first, and then we're going to make the emulsification, which I'm going to show it to you. So let me add 2.5 grams of Instathix. Also, another good thing about Instathix, it's a very good stabilizer. So if you have, as you can see on the picture on the screen, this one, Instathix has also another property. If you have oil and water separating an emulsifier in emulsification, Instathix will help fix that and also stabilize it. So That's why it's very good emulsifier. So it also has xanthan in it. So, and it's also a natural Cosmos approach emulsifier. That's another one. It's not called processable. It's only, it can be processed with a hot process, but I'll show you that anyway. So let's add 2.5 grams of Instathix. Let's just make this. Okay, so I add this now. Is 2.5 grams. And how we're going to process this emulsifiers? Obviously, I added in the oil phase. We need to disperse this in the oil phase first, and then we're gonna add this in our water stage. But first, let me disperse this. It's all dispersed right now, so you can see it from here as well. So it's all, everything is dispersed. So what I'm going to do next is on the procedure, we need to heat the water. We need to hit the water stage and then add this here and then emulsify it. So let me bring a bowl of hot water and then you can see the emulsification. Okay, so I put the water stage in here, as you can see from the other screen as well. So let's first check how hot it is. So this it's quite hot, it's already 70 degrees. So what we're going to do, we're going to add this is the oil stage. Oil, so we're just going to make sure everything is well dispersed again. Okay, and we're going to add this into the water like this. Right, so the trick with Instathix, you need to keep it warm and then homogenize it. So if you don't have a homogenizer, I'll show it to you, but let me just mix it a little bit so you can see the initial emulsification. So this is gonna be a little bit noisy, but this is my emulsifier. So from the other screen you can see this is called Dynamics. It's an emulsifier. It's not your, so it's actually quite useful to invest in an emulsifier because it really makes a difference. It's not if you just use a mixer, you might not get the same texture. Homogenizer, it makes everything more silky and uniform. So that's why I prefer using it. So I'm just gonna blend it here. I'm not gonna put it a lot of sound. It's just to keep it, just so you can see it. So you can see. It's already thickened, so you can see it here as well. It's thickened up really. So we don't obviously, you know, Nivea's balm is not really thick. It's quite fluid. So we're not making a thick balm here, but it's actually, you know, thickened up really nicely. Just a nice texture. So we need to cool this down. So this is around 55 degrees, so it's still a little bit warm. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna cool down this to under 40, and then we're gonna add our heat sensitive ingredients, and then that will, after that we'll check the pH and then bottle it up, and then we can test the texture at the end. So let me just cool this and I'll come back to you. Okay, so this is now cooled under 40 degrees, so let's check. Yeah, so it's very cold, it's 30 degrees. So what I'm going to do now, let's check the texture. It's quite cool. As you can see, it's nice and creamy, so you can see it from here as well. It's very nice, gel creamy texture, very smooth, but still very fluid. As you can see, it's very, you know, it's still very watery, so that's what we want. We don't need a thick cream, we're not making a thick cream here, we're just making a very smooth balm. So as you can see, it's really nice. I like the texture as well a lot. So this is what the texture the Instathix can create. Obviously the more you add, it gets thicker and thicker, but we don't want it. So this is quite cool. So what we're going to do now at the sensitive ingredients. So we're gonna start adding with vitamin E. So we need 1 gram of 1% of vitamin E. Okay, just mix this. And next we're going to add 1.5 grams of panthenol. So I'm adding D5 vitamin B5, which is a panthenol powder. So you can also have a liquid version of this. I just have the powdered version. Okay, let's mix that. Lastly, we need 1 gram of I'm using Geogard ECT, so this is a natural Cosmos of root preservative. So I'm using 1 gram of Geogard ECT, and that finalizes our sensitive ingredients. Do one more time homogenizer. Okay, so let's check the pH. The pH perfect is just on the point 5.5, so that's perfect. Okay, so now we need to let's fill this up and check the texture, how it compares with Nivea's Balm. Okay, so I'm using this plastic bottle just for demonstration so that we can see the texture. And let's just fill this up. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite, fluid. It has a nice texture, but it's a little bit fluid. I'm gonna show you the comparison between the two. So let's just check the texture on my skin. So I have them both here. So let me just show you how the texture of Nivea's Balm. So as you can see, you're gonna see it in a very, very liquid, thin balm. It's like a milky. It's very milky, as you can see, it spreads. That smell, that trademark smell. I mean, I don't know how it's really what they use it. Obviously, it's their smell, but if you know, detect a little bit more notes, like what kind of notes, let me know in the comments. So let's try our one that we created. As you can see, still, this is gonna be fully thickened up by next day. Obviously, this is just for demonstration purposes, but let's just see. This is also gonna be very, very liquid. You can see it here. Okay, and as you can see, it's very, very similar in the texture. It's almost, very liquidy, and it's very easily glides, So my Nivea is like this, so it's like that, and let's try mine again. Very, very similar in the texture. So ultimate comparison of the both. Absorb the same. So it looks almost the same. To me, it feels the same. So yeah, this is I wanted to make this because as I mentioned, I got inspired by it. It took me a couple of times to do it, but I managed to get there at the end. So it's not a difficult formula. You can do it. You can amend. If you don't want to use floral waters, you can just use them, replace them with just water itself. You can use alternative oils. So if you don't want to use coconut, or if you don't want to use grapeseed oil, you can mix them with like jojoba, or you can also mix the apricot kernel, things like that. If you don't have them, just make sure that these are obviously not heat sensitive. Don't use heat sensitive oils, obviously, because we're gonna use in this formulation, you're gonna heat them, so they might get a little bit lose their efficacy of these oils. So try using not heat sensitive oils. So yeah, love it, great texture. Hope you like this formulation. If you have any questions, ask me again in the description. And yes, hopefully I will be back soon. I had a little bit of problems, personal problems, that's why I couldn't. And when I have personal problems, I get a little bit reclusive. But hopefully I'm gonna try coming back more, and I have a few more formulation videos. And next thing I'm planning to do vitamin C next. So and sunscreen, which is also in the plans, and so stay tuned. I'll let you know when these are out, and till then, next time, take care and see you. Bye.